Before he changed the world, he was a child. Before he taught thousands, he learned from his father. Before he became the greatest teacher who ever lived, he asked questions, just like you. This is the story of a boy who grew up to transform everything. And it didn't start on a mountaintop or in a palace. It started in the most ordinary place you can imagine, a dusty village, a humble home, a simple carpenter's shop. Picture this, Nazareth, a small hillside village in Galilee, nothing special, nothing remarkable, the kind of place people passed through but never stayed, the kind of place where nothing important ever happened, or so they thought. In this forgotten village, in a modest workshop filled with wood shavings and the smell of cedar, a young boy watched his father work. His name was Jesus. And though no one knew it yet, this child would one day split history in two. But right now, he was just learning how to sand wood. Joseph, his earthly father, was a skilled carpenter, strong hands, patient teacher. He showed Jesus how to select the right piece of wood, how to measure it, how to cut it with precision. See, Jesus, Joseph would say, running his weathered hand along a plank of olive wood, you must work with the grain, not against it. Every piece of wood has its own character, its own strength, its own beauty. If you fight against it, you'll break it. But if you work with it, you can create something beautiful. Jesus watched carefully, his young eyes studying every movement. Then he asked, like people, Father? Joseph paused. He set down his tools and looked at his son. A slow smile spread across his face. Yes, my son, he said softly, very much like people. Think about that for a moment. Even as a child, Jesus was learning one of life's most powerful truths, that everyone has unique value. Everyone has their own grain, their own purpose, their own beauty waiting to be revealed. He wasn't learning this in a classroom. He wasn't reading it in a book. He was learning it with his hands in a workshop from a man who understood that every piece of creation has dignity. Now let me ask you something. What if you looked at people that way? What if instead of trying to force people into your mold, you learned to work with their unique grain? What if you saw the beauty in their differences instead of fighting against them? What would change in your relationships today? What would change in your work? What would change in your life? The greatest teacher who ever lived learned his first lessons in a carpenter's shop. Where are you learning yours? Let me tell you about another day in that village. It's hot. The Middle Eastern sun beats down on the dusty streets. Women gather at the village well, the center of social life, the place where news is shared, where friendships are formed, where life happens. Young Jesus walks with his mother Mary to draw water. Other children play nearby, their laughter echoing off the stone walls. And then it happens. A younger child, maybe 5 or 6 years old, loses their grip on their family's water jar. It slips from their small hands. Time seems to slow down as it falls. Then crash, it shatters on the ground. Pieces of clay scattering everywhere. The child's face crumples. Tears start flowing immediately. Not just because the jar is broken, but because of what comes next, the fear, the shame. The punishment, they're sure, is waiting at home. My mother will be so angry, the child cries. We needed that jar. We don't have money for another one. The other children back away. No one wants to be associated with this mistake. No one wants to get involved, except one. Jesus walks over. He doesn't rush. He doesn't make a big show of it. He simply kneels down beside the crying child, bringing himself to their level. He places a gentle hand on their shoulder, and he says something remarkable. Don't be afraid. Come, we'll tell your mother together. The truth spoken with a brave heart is always better than hiding in fear. Stop right there. Think about that moment. No miracle, no supernatural power, no dramatic intervention, just one child comforting another child, just compassion, just courage, just presence. But isn't that everything? You see, we often think we need extraordinary abilities to make a difference. We think we need to be older, wiser, richer, more talented, more educated, more something before we can impact someone's life. But that's not true. That's never been true. You don't need special abilities to change someone's day. You don't need a platform or a following or a title. You just need to show up. You just need to care. You just need to be willing to kneel down beside someone who's hurting and say, you're not alone. That's the power you have right now, today, this very moment. How many people around you are like that child, broken, afraid, certain that judgment is coming? How many are waiting for just one person to show them kindness instead of condemnation? You could be that person. You have that power. The question is, will you use it? Jesus did. As a child, with no authority, with no credentials, just compassion. And it changed that child's entire day, maybe their entire life. Never underestimate the power of showing up for someone. Never underestimate the impact of simple kindness. Now let's talk about education, about learning, about growth. In the first century, Jewish boys attended synagogue school. They memorized Scripture. They learned the Torah. They studied the prophets and the Psalms. Education was taken seriously. Faith was central to everything. Young Jesus sat among the other children as the rabbi taught. Picture it, a small room, children sitting on the floor, the rabbi standing before them with the sacred scrolls. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, the rabbi would recite, with all your soul and with all your strength. The children would repeat the words, their voices echoing in unison. Most of them simply memorized, repeated, and moved on. That's what was expected. That's what education was, receiving information, storing it, reciting it back. But not Jesus. After class, when the other children ran outside to play, Jesus would linger. He had questions, always questions. Rabbi, he would say, if God asks us to love Him with all our heart, does that mean He loves us the same way? The rabbi would stroke his beard, surprised. That wasn't a surface-level question. That wasn't just recitation. That was theology. That was philosophy. That was deep thinking from a young boy. That is a very deep question for one so young, the rabbi would reply. What do you think? And Jesus would answer thoughtfully, I think He must love us even more than we can imagine. Do you see what's happening here? He didn't just memorize. He didn't just repeat. He questioned. He wondered. He dug deeper. He wanted to understand not just what the Scriptures said, but what they meant. Not just the words, but the heart behind them. Let me ask you something. Are you going deeper, or are you just going through the motions? In our world today, we're drowning in information. We have access to more knowledge than any generation in history. We can Google anything. We can watch tutorials on everything. We can scroll through endless content. But information isn't the same as understanding. Consumption isn't the same as comprehension. Having access to knowledge isn't the same as having wisdom. The greatest among us aren't those who know the most answers. They're the ones who ask the best questions. They're the ones who don't settle for surface-level understanding. They're the ones who push deeper, who challenge assumptions, who want to know not just what is true, but why it's true. So here's my challenge to you. What question do you need to ask today? What topic have you been accepting at face value without really digging into it? What area of your life needs deeper examination? Stop settling for shallow understanding. Stop being satisfied with just knowing enough to get by. Go deeper. Ask better questions. Seek wisdom, not just information. Because the child who asked questions in that synagogue grew up to give answers that changed the world. What questions are stirring in you right now? Don't ignore them. Pursue them. Let's shift to family life, to the home, to the ordinary moments that shape us. Evening has fallen over Nazareth. The day's work is done. Joseph has closed up the carpenter's shop. Mary has prepared the evening meal. Simple food, but made with love. Bread, olives, perhaps some fish or lentils. A modest table in a modest home. The family gathers. Oil lamps flicker, casting warm light and dancing shadows on the walls. This is the rhythm of their life. This is their sacred routine. Mary looks at her son and says, Jesus, will you say the blessing? Jesus stands. His young voice is clear, earnest, filled with genuine gratitude as he prays. Blessed are you, Lord, our God, King of the universe, who brings forth bread from the earth. Thank you for this food. for this family, and for your presence with us always. Simple words, a traditional blessing, but spoken with heart, with meaning, with authentic thanksgiving. Here's what I love about this moment, gratitude. Even in a simple home, even with simple food, even without abundance or luxury or anything impressive by the world's standards, he was grateful. Let me tell you something that might change your life. Success doesn't come before gratitude. Gratitude comes before success. We've got it backwards in our culture. We think, I'll be grateful when I get the promotion. I'll be thankful when I have more money. I'll appreciate my life when things get better. But that's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. Gratitude isn't a reward for success. Gratitude is the foundation for success. When you learn to be thankful for what you have, even when it's not much, even when it's ordinary, even when it's not what you hoped for, you're developing the character that can handle more. You're building the mindset that attracts blessing. You're cultivating the heart that recognizes opportunity. Jesus had every reason to take his life for granted. He was the Son of God. He could have been entitled. He could have been prideful. He could have looked around at that simple home and simple meal and simple life and thought, I deserve better than this. But he didn't. He chose gratitude instead. So let me ask you, what are you thankful for right now? Not tomorrow, not when things get better, right now, today. Are you grateful for the roof over your head, for the food in your pantry, for the people in your life, for the breath in your lungs, for another day to pursue your dreams? Say it out loud. Feel it. Mean it. Because when you cultivate gratitude in the small things, you're preparing yourself for the great things ahead. Grateful people are magnetic. Grateful people are powerful. Grateful people are unstoppable. Not because they have everything, but because they appreciate everything. Start there. Start with thanks. Watch how it transforms you. Picture another evening in Nazareth. The stars are out, thousands upon thousands of them in the clear Middle Eastern sky, unpolluted by city lights, brilliant and breathtaking. Jesus and Joseph sit outside their home, looking up at the vast expanse above them. It's a quiet moment, a teaching moment, a bonding moment. Father, Jesus asks, why did God make so many stars? It's an innocent question, the kind of question any curious child might ask. But Joseph, wise father that he is, sees the deeper question beneath it, the wonder, the awe, the recognition that creation is pointing to something greater. Joseph answers carefully, perhaps to remind us that his thoughts are beyond our counting and his love beyond our measuring. They sit in silence for a moment, both gazing upward, both contemplating the infinite. Then Jesus speaks again, his voice quiet but certain. One day I want to help people understand how much God loves them. Joseph turns to look at his son. He sees something in those young eyes, something profound, something eternal. I believe you will, my son, Joseph says gently. I believe you will. Now listen carefully to what just happened. This is crucial. He had a vision. Even as a child, even before he began his ministry, even before anyone knew who he really was, he knew there was something bigger calling him. He had a sense of purpose, a sense of destiny, a sense that his life was meant for something more. Let me ask you, what's your one day? What's that dream you keep pushing aside? That calling you feel stirring inside you? That purpose that won't leave you alone no matter how hard you try to ignore it? You know what I'm talking about. That thing that makes your heart beat faster? That vision that keeps showing up in your quiet moments? That mission you're afraid to speak out loud because it seems too big, too impossible, too presumptuous? That's not random. That's not your imagination. That's your purpose trying to break through. And here's what I need you to hear. Stop waiting for perfect conditions. Stop waiting until you're older, smarter, more qualified, more connected, or more ready. You will never feel completely ready. You will never have all the resources you think you need. You will never eliminate all the risks. Jesus started right where he was, in a carpenter's shop, in an unknown village, with no platform, no followers, no fame, no credentials, no advantages by the world's standards. He had a purpose and he had faithfulness. That was enough. Your purpose doesn't need permission. It doesn't need approval. It doesn't need perfect timing. It needs action. It needs courage. It needs you to take the first step even when you can't see the entire staircase. What's the one thing you could do today to move toward that one day? Not everything, not the whole plan, just one thing, one small step, one brave decision. Do that today, now, because the world is waiting for what only you can bring. And every day you wait is a day the world goes without it. Morning light returns to Nazareth. Another day begins. The workshop opens again. The familiar sounds of sawing and hammering resume. Jesus works alongside Joseph, learning the craft, developing the skills, building the character, day after day, week after week, year after year. And so he grew in wisdom, in strength, in favor with God and people. Not overnight, not instantly, not through a shortcut or a hack or some secret formula, through everyday faithfulness, through showing up when he didn't feel like it, through doing the work when no one was watching, through honoring his commitments even in the mundane moments. This is where most people lose the plot. This is where dreams die. This is where purpose gets buried. We want the destination without the journey. We want the victory without the training. We want the harvest without the planting and watering and waiting. But that's not how growth works. That's not how anything worthwhile works. The greatest life ever lived didn't start with a miracle. It started with showing up, with helping his parents, with asking questions, with caring for others, with being grateful, with learning his craft, with being faithful in the small things. For 30 years, Jesus lived in obscurity, preparing, growing, learning, serving. 30 years before his public ministry began. 30 years of faithfulness that no one saw. 30 years that seemed ordinary but were actually extraordinary because they were building the foundation for everything that came next. You're being prepared right now. In your ordinary moments, in your daily routines, in the struggles you're facing, in the responsibilities you're carrying, in the work you're doing that feels invisible. None of it is wasted. None of it is meaningless. All of it is shaping you for what's coming. Don't despise small beginnings. Don't rush the process. Don't skip the foundation building stage because you're impatient for the platform. The carpenter's son became the Savior of the world. But he was a faithful carpenter's son first. What will your faithfulness become? What's being built in you right now that you can't see yet? What's being formed in the invisible moments that will be revealed in the visible ones? Trust the process. Honor the preparation. Embrace the obscurity. Your time is coming. But right now, this moment, this day, this season, this is when you become the person who can handle what's ahead. So do the work. Ask the questions. Show the kindness. Practice the gratitude. Take the small steps. Be faithful where you are, because the world is waiting. Your purpose is calling. Your destiny is being prepared. And when the time comes, and it will come, you'll be ready. Not because everything was perfect, not because you had it all figured out, but because you were faithful, because you showed up, because you did the work when no one was applauding. The carpenter's son changed everything. What will you build with your life? Now go build something beautiful, something meaningful, something that matters. The tools are in your hands. The purpose is in your heart. The time is now. Go build.